the blending product that I'll be doing a workshop on this afternoon. And if it hasn't been clear to you, you each have the opportunity to take 2 workshops this afternoon. So you would be choosing from NIDA Step, PAMI, or Mipresto. And so I'm going to start with telling you a little bit about the NIDA Step product, so you have an idea whether that's something that would interest you. So again, here's the development of the protocol. The NIDA Drug Abuse Treatment Clinical Trials Network designed the protocol. It was designed as something that all outpatient community treatment program providers could use. And the researchers worked directly with MI experts and treatment providers on both development and implementation. This is the profile of the CTN study. The participants, what their average age was, gender, race, marital status, etc. And they did what was called an MI assessment. So what that meant was they were looking to see if they could increase engagement and retention by using motivational interviewing in the intake process. And so the idea was that it would be a little different than perhaps our usual intake process, which might be rather dry. And anybody in here do intake? So am I offending you by saying it might be dry? Yeah. So, you know, and just tedious and also very passive for the patient. Do you agree? I mean, there's not much opportunity there, right, for them to share with you some of the reasons, for example, that they came into treatment. What it is, you know, how many times have you used this drug in the last 12 months, et cetera, et cetera. So this idea was to create an MI assessment sandwich. And as you can see, the sandwich was MI on either side of the cold cut there of the intaker assessment. So not changing how you do your intaker assessment, not reinventing the wheel, but using 15 minutes of, well, it says here 20, but I think you can do it with 5 to 10 minutes of MI, the regular assessment, and then some 15, you know, to 20 minutes of MI at the end. So again, also that you wouldn't be extending the intake process, but you might have a greater engagement on the part of the participant, the patient. Can I see show of hands of how many people use MI in their practice? Okay. So something to think about is that, then I don't know what your familiarity is with MI, but something to think about is what could I be doing to create a little bit more participation from the patient and an increase in motivation. So an example that I recently experienced was when I was training someone at, I was training an intake person at Glenwood about using MI, and I asked him to tape his session with the patient, and he did. And he just taped the first part, so he just did the first MI strategy. And what he said was, welcome, and what brings you in today? And the patient said, well, I know I'm in trouble, I know I'm addicted, and I know I need help with that. So it's one. I used to be a substitute teacher, and I haven't been able to do that in a really long time, and I would like to get back to it. And I have 2 kids, and I used to be able to help them with their homework, and I haven't been able to do that either. So I would also like to, you know, get back into that role. And I want to work again. 4 reasons for treatment, just by saying what brings you in today. And sometimes our intake process is, okay, so here's what we need to do today. We have forms, they're going to be, it's going to take us about 2 hours, and you're going to be answering a lot of questions, and you may have already answered these questions before, but I need to ask them again, right? So it creates this sort of distance and passivity on the part of the patient, because the patient's thinking, I've been here, maybe they're transferring. I've done this already, right? I've been in the seat before. And it's not very, it doesn't really talk about what the opportunities are in treatment. So when you say to when somebody says to you, these are the reasons I came to treatment, you can say, you know what, we can help you with those goals. And we can also use an affirmation in MI and say, good for you. It sounds like you have some real goals for changing your life, right? So I'm a big fan of MI, in case you didn't notice. So here's some of the research findings from that study. This was for alcohol users, okay? So there was a pronounced difference in treatment sessions attended at 4 weeks that was maintained at the 84-day follow-up. Here's another one. MI retains more people in treatment at the 4-week point than the standard assessment. Okay, so how many of you have experienced someone coming to intake and not returning? Yes. That was nice of you, to be honest. Yeah. So here's a tool for you. You know, that's been studied and can help you in your practice. Here's people receiving MI completed more sessions in 4 weeks than those receiving standard intake. Okay. And so what was discovered was that MI has a solid evidence base. Okay, so we confirmed that. It improves client engagement and retention. And then a byproduct of that was using MIA STEP. So for those of you that don't know, it stands for Motivational Interviewing Assessment, Supervisory Training for Enhancing Proficiency. So the idea was that what they discovered from the study, even though they were looking at engagement for patients, was that clinicians need help with keeping this skill keeping the muscle going and warm and actually having evaluation attached to it. So I know lots of people are sometimes, you know, I've done a lot of training, so I know people are sometimes reluctant to tape. And that's something that we can talk about this afternoon. And maybe I can give you some tips and some pointers about it. But it requires the taping. It requires somebody else, either you yourself listening to the tape or someone else evaluating the tape. So we'll talk about evaluation as well this afternoon, how you can evaluate. So the question was also why another application of MI, because even when the study was done, it was certainly had been well received by lots of people, thanks to Bill Miller's work. But the positive outcomes depend on clients staying in treatment. So obviously, right, you want someone who is motivated when they enter treatment. And adding MI at the beginning of treatment increases client retention. So getting somebody's motor going, right? Someone who perhaps has come from the street, has come from lots of, is mandated to treatment through the criminal justice system, somebody who really needs a little jump start, right? And needs to kind of get personal goals back into the picture, not just resolving all of the dilemmas they have. So that was important. And that the type of clinical supervision needed to maintain and improve MI skills is generally lacking. So, you know, I know lots of people who will say, oh no, I know MI. I'm familiar with MI, and it's because they've taken, maybe a 3-hour workshop. But it really requires practice. So that's another thing we'll talk about this afternoon. And so this responds to that question, which is why consider the approach when staff are already trained? And so this package gives you evaluation tools along with some great examples of what the elements of MI are and also what the level of skill is. So it's not just that you're doing it, but what kind of skill are you employing? So there's kind of a high and a low in that regard. And so it's a toolkit that provides all of this. And you know, the other thing is, and maybe you've experienced this, so this is something else we'll talk about this afternoon, supervision. What has supervision been like for you? If you are responsible for conducting supervision, what is that like for you? And what's a way that we could make supervision a more valuable tool? Because, you know, I had an occasion when I was doing training, and the clinical director said to me, I was doing motivational interview and training, she said, yeah, and try and light a fire under these people. And that was when I got there, and I went, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's not MI. And so, you know, here she is inviting me to train her staff on MI, but she has this rather negative view of her own staff, and I thought, well, that could be the first problem. But, you know, so it's adopting a style of also how to talk to other clinicians, you know, to say, well, have you tried this? Or what is your biggest problem with this patient? Why are you so stuck with him? Asking an open-ended question, right? So a style of supervision. And this also was kind of taken into consideration what the cost might be. So for training and mentoring, reviewing tapes, giving feedback, and of course, you know, potentially recorders and supplies.